Hey everybody, welcome to How to Be Mesmerizing. It's Tim Shurr, and today I have an amazing guest. Dr. Grace Lee is with us. Grace, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be invited and to chat with you as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, the honor is mine. So I wanted to bring Grace to you because she is brilliant. She's accomplished so many things, and she's so kind, and she's so caring, and she's so smart, and she is a real expert at creating vocational confidence, really helping people with their careers, finding their voice, finding their passion, believing in themselves, and being able to reach for their dreams and make those dreams come true, because we tend to hold ourselves back. And we'll talk about that. And especially with what's going on in the environment right now and with COVID-19 and so many people being on unemployment, I thought it was the perfect time to have Dr. Grace on the program. So let's jump right in. And I want to take a couple of laps into that brilliant mind of yours. So, because your background is in neuroscience, right? So,
Yes.
so tell us a little bit about how you decided to earn advanced degrees in neuroscience.
So it goes way back, actually. When I was 8 years old, my nuclear family was like, my parents and my brother were involved in a car accident.
Ooh, okay.
And my mom was driving at the time. It was a head-on collision, high speeds, and she passed away. She was in a coma. She was in a coma. I don't remember for how long. And then she passed away. And at that age, I was 8, and it was around my 8th birthday. Actually, it happened on the night of my 8th birthday. And at that age, I couldn't understand why the doctors couldn't help her.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't understand why. But as I got older and I understood it was a brain trauma, severe brain trauma when you're in a coma, I didn't know what that meant. But initially, and so it planted a seed really that I wanted to help others in that situation where they had conditions around the brain that the medical care system couldn't help. So in the future, what that looked like for me was helping brain trauma or spinal cord injury patients, because my injuries at that time were nearly spinal cord level. And I didn't have a spinal cord injury, hence I'm not a quadriplegic, but I was very close to becoming one.
Wow.
And so really it was a very personal decision to go into neuroscience. Right. But at that age, when I chose to do my master's and my PhD in neuroscience, I didn't know what I could do with the degree.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
just interested in generating new knowledge on how to help patients like that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a powerful story. You know, sometimes you choose your career, and sometimes your career and life path chooses you.
That's right.
And yes, you were selected by the powerful universe to do this. And sometimes we have to go through very painful experiences to become the person that we were born to be. So, I talk a lot about trauma and post-traumatic stress. That was something that you definitely went through. So how were you able to take a situation like that and use it to become the person that you are today? Because you're very successful, very kind, very driven and entrepreneurial. That situation could have also caused people to go a very different direction. So what happened inside of you to be able to get to where you are from there?
Yeah. So in all transparency, and I believe in being transparent and vulnerable as well, I didn't start off this way. So
Mm-hmm.
when the car accident happened and my mom passed away, what happened in that year of the car accident was my biological father, he remarried and he started a new family. So then fast forward a couple of years, now I'm 10,
Mm-hmm.
and my father, he comes into my bedroom and he told me basically that he does not have the resources to take care of me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So at 10, I was now without a place to call home and he was no longer supporting me. So I was on
Wow.
my own at 10. And so my life did go that direction that you alluded to earlier. It really did go that direction, because here I was 10, essentially homeless and feeling hopeless as well. So I
Yeah.
was not in a place of power. I was feeling hopeless. I was feeling unwanted and unloved, and I blamed myself. I wasn't angry at my father. The way I responded was, well, of course, because it's me and I'm so unlovable. I'm so unwanted, right? And so that was what I had gone through for many years. From the age of 10 until 14, I was in that state for 4 years, until serendipitously what happened at 14 was I was working at a restaurant just for survival.
Mm-hmm.
I started working at the restaurant when I was 11 to
Wow.
survive.
Wow.
And because I was a minor, I didn't get paid wages, but I did earn tips from the table from generous patrons, right? And so when I was 14, uh, you know, 3 years from working in that restaurant, this couple came to dine at the restaurant, and they were very astute. They noticed me, and basically at the end of the meal, they settled the bill, and they turned to me, and they literally said, "Grace, we noticed you need a place to stay. Why don't you come home with us and live with us?" Just like that.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. So actually that was the turning point in my life, because that night I followed them home, and I took a risk because I was desperate. I took a risk. I followed them home, and they led me into their house, and basically they led me upstairs. It was a very humble, I still remember it, a yellow wooden house, narrow, a staircase, carpeted staircase up to the bedroom. Turn right, and there was the biggest bed I've ever seen in that room, with yellow walls and a slanted ceiling. They turned to me. We were standing there. They turned to me and they said, "Grace, welcome home. You can stay here for as long as you want." They told me this. I'm 14. In that moment, and I'm ashamed to say this, in that moment, I was not grateful. I was not thankful. I was scared because I didn't trust them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't trust them. And I was like, okay, so I have a place to stay tonight, but I don't know if I have a place to stay tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't trust them. And I was constantly testing their sincerity. Right. And so this testing, and I didn't want to, they tried to get me to open up. They tried to talk to me, tried to develop a relationship with me. And I just kept them at arm's length because I was scared. I didn't know if I didn't believe them. I didn't trust them. Right. And 2 years of this testing, and now I'm 16 now, 2 years of this not trusting, scared, waiting for them to kick me out kind of thing. 2 years later, and now I'm 16. And one morning I got up, and there's a wall in my bedroom that overlooks their backyard. I heard their husband and wife, that couple is a husband and wife. I heard the husband in the backyard talking to a neighbor. And his voice is one of those voices that carry really far. So I heard him through the bedroom. And so I went to the window, and I kind of pressed my face against the window to see them down there talking. And that was the first time I heard him. I'm not just talking about hearing his voice, but I really heard him. First time. And that was when I realized, oh my goodness, this couple, they're the real deal. When they said I could stay here for as long as I want, they meant it. They're real. They are sincere. And that was my moment of agency. That's when I cried tears of gratitude right there, my face pressed against the window. Right. And that's when I decided for myself, it just happened. That instant was when I no longer operated from a mindset of scarcity. I was no longer in survival mode. And I decided that I wanted a future. Right. I stopped being hopeless. Right. I stopped operating out of scarcity and survival. And I told myself, I want a future. I want to have the things that I want. I got to figure out what I want. And I want to go out and get them so that I could pay back to this couple who's given me a second chance. That was when I recognized it. Right. It was the series of events. So I didn't start out right away, rising above my trauma. No. I had to go through those motions. So that was the first time, was years later at 16, was when I committed to my future, that things are going to be different and I'm going to be independent. And I no longer wanted to depend on anyone, right? I still had to depend on them, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So I said, I'm going to be independent and I'm going to figure out how to do that. But as you know, conventional wisdom, the way the society and everyone programs you to believe, and I believed it too, that the only way to get there was to go to school, get good grades, and get a safe and secure job. So at 16, that was the only thing I knew. I got to go to school. I got to go to college after I graduate high school. That was the only thing I knew how to do. So my only question was, how do I afford that? How am I going to afford that? Because no one was paying for me. No one was, like, my adopted parents took me in. They provided a roof over my head, but they didn't give me an allowance. They didn't pay for me. They didn't, you know what I mean? So I still had to be resourceful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Grace, that's a powerful story. Jeez. I know I'm supposed to be asking you questions, but I can't think of any right now. That was such a powerful, gripping story, and so honest. We don't usually just all of a sudden, say, hey, everything's okay, my life's falling apart and I'm going to end up being super successful. That's not how it happens.
It is not.
Right? We end up mistrusting, and it's interesting. um, these beautiful people who came into your life, because I really believe life has a way of balancing. So if you have a lot of pain, you also will experience pleasure, joy, compassion if you allow yourself to open to it. They created the opportunity for you to follow them home. That's a big risk, but you took it, right? You didn't know what was going to happen, but you took it. And then, you tested them for 2 years, just like from 8 to 10, that 2-year period of, losing your mom and then losing your dad. And now you're testing them from 14 to 16 and to realize that, no, they're the real deal. Then you allowed yourself to open up again. So it's really our beliefs that are influencing the kind of world that we're living in, in so many ways. It's just a powerful story.
Yeah, our perceptions make up our entire reality. Our minds are so capable of making the most magnificent illusions that are not only believable, but the stories that we tell ourselves from that process, we can never become more than our stories. Our futures, our destiny can never become more of the stories we tell ourselves. It never becomes more than the story we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? And the fact is, when I was a teenager and even in my early 20s, I didn't know that. I didn't know that there were stories. I didn't know I was telling them. I didn't know that there were stories. I didn't know that there was this unseen world out there. All I saw, all I felt the whole reality was the experiences I got from my 5 senses.
Yeah. We think that we're dealing with reality. This is reality, instead of realizing it's our internal subjective reality of what's going on. It's not the situation. It's a story we're telling ourselves. I mean, the reality was, your mom passed. That was a reality. But in your mind, it's how you describe it to yourself. Your dad telling you that he can't take care of you. And then your reality in your mind is, it's because I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Yeah. Right. When of course they had nothing to do with you at all. Yeah. So it's a powerful reminder that no matter what we go through, our story can change, our beliefs can change, our perceptions can change. And when they do, our reality changes, our world changes. And when people say that, I can't be successful because, you don't know what I've been through, you don't know what happened to me, you're living proof of, no, you can do whatever you want. You can, you can, if you upgrade your mindset, you can upgrade your life.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, when as soon as you say, I can't because, I don't because, then you're right. When you say, you are absolutely right. But the thing is, I'm not interested in being right. I'm interested in getting what I want. I'm interested in producing the fruit that I truly desire. I'm not interested in being right.
Yeah.
Right. And so the need to be right, the need to feel right, the need to be right in front of someone else, sometimes, and I would say oftentimes, prevents us from getting exactly what we want.
Yes, exactly right. I remind people that you better want what you're arguing for or what you're trying to defend, because a lot of times we're defending passionately the reasons for why we can't have what we want, and what happens is then you end up with what you don't want, right? Because that's what you're actually arguing for. So then you went to school and you started learning more about the brain and learning more about the mind. And were there any particular experiences that jumped out for you? I mean, most people don't have a background in neuroscience. So is there any cool experiments or insights or principles that were like a wow moment for you?
Oh, there's so many. I wouldn't know where to begin. But honestly, my study of neuroscience began during my bachelor's degree, my undergrad. Because, it's usually a 4-year degree. Bachelor's are, on average 4 years degree. And on the 4th year, my senior year, I actually did a dissertation. I was fortunate enough to convince someone to invite me into their lab so that I could have a taste of neuroscience and the cutting edge research of basically spinal cord restitution. Right. I was inside of a research company that basically helped people to walk again if they were paralyzed. That was their whole mission, was to increase mobility and decrease scarring after spinal cord injury. And that was infinitely interesting to me. And that was the first time I've ever seen such cutting edge research. So then that was what seeded my interest. And I knew for sure that's what I wanted to do in graduate studies. So then I flew to Edinburgh for my master's degree. And that was where on site, Edinburgh University has a very reputable program in neuroscience. And that's also where Dolly the sheep was cloned many years
Really?
ago. Yeah, in Edinburgh. So I was rubbing shoulders with a lot of prominent scientists in the field of biomedical research. And it was just phenomenal to see where it was done and to actually be mentored by them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What an amazing experience.
Yeah, but as you know it, you're 20 something in your degrees, and then at that time for me, the focus for learning was just gathering more knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that now that I realize that the purpose of learning is not knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of learning is mastery, right? Because more knowledge does not transform. More knowledge is just more knowledge, but the way to get paid your worth, the way to add value in the marketplace is to turn that knowledge into wisdom. But unfortunately, our school systems don't teach you how to do that. They give you credentials, and the credentials just show you what you know, right? My credentials, PhD, tells me that I have this knowledge, but credentials don't say that you know how to apply that knowledge into action. They don't say that. Show me a credential that says I know how to apply my knowledge, and there isn't one. There's not one that exists, right? And so that is something that I submit to you, is that learning really is for mastery, and mastery means you know how to package that knowledge. It doesn't matter that you don't generate new knowledge, because that's the purpose of a PhD. It's whatever you do get your knowledge from, formal education, self-education, then you can find connections between the knowledge points that you've learned, package it, offer it into wisdom that is actionable. Right? And that's really where the value is created.
Yeah. And then the more value you bring, the more valuable you become. Right.
I would submit that it's not more value you want to bring. I would submit that it's a different type of value you want to bring.
Okay. I like that. Yeah. So elaborate on that.
Right. Because more value means more of the same thing. Kind of like when people tell me that, oh, I have 10 years of experience. And then when I really get to know their work history, no, they don't have 10 years of experience. They have the same year of experience 10 times. Right. And so I mean it is really true. And so when people say, if you want to be paid your worth, if you want to have an increase in salary, or if you want to be paid more in your business, then you got to put more value in. But if you're providing the same value and just offering more of that, then what you're doing is the same thing, hoping for a different outcome. Essentially, the principle of that is that way. So what you're trying to do is not to increase your output. You are trying to change your value and offer something different, because the focus is on transformation, right? Because
Yes.
if you want to have something you've never had, you got to do something you've never done.
That's beautiful, Grace. Yeah, I agree. I think that the definition of value is what we got to get clear on, because you're right. If you're giving the same kind of value or the same kind of energy, then that's not really creating more value, or that's not creating, that's not solving more problems, or avoiding pain, or creating more pleasure. Right. So it's how you are, how you're delivering that wisdom, how you're delivering the value, I think that matters most. So that's really good. I like that a lot. Yeah. So then you're getting your degrees, and you're figuring out where your superpowers are going to be. And turns out you have many of them. Right. And so, and then you decide, all right, I'm going to be a career coach, a vocational mentor, and really show people how to, how to have confidence in themselves and believe in themselves more, and not put themselves in that box of, I have to do these things in order to be happy. Because we're finding that when people were doing all these things, it didn't necessarily lead to happiness, and sometimes it led to unhappiness. So what was it that allowed you to start moving into coaching people in their careers?
Yeah. And so I should say that career doesn't just mean you work for someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurship, business owner is also a career.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the people I help are not only employees; they are business owners as well. Because the principles of building a business are actually very similar to the principles of building a career.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if I teach business acumen, what I do is I show you how to get the right model, right? How to get the right market to message match, and how to get the right market, right? Of which there are 4 different types. And when I can show them how to do that, then they have the principles and the essence on how to grow a successful business. And then it's all about, if you don't want to start a business, if you want to work in a career, then it is about how I help them to translate that into a career, into the career language, right? So it's first of all creating a shared background on what are these principles and what are the distinctions around those terms and the frameworks around them. And then depending on what avenue they want to apply it to, is it a business they want to start, or a business they want to grow and scale, or is it a career working for a company that they want to grow and scale, right? So really it is both worlds, and they apply in both worlds.
When you're helping somebody with that, what are some common problems that people come to you for?
So on the career side, I know this is going to get kind of dynamic here. On the career side, the most common problem I have is that they come to me and they say, Grace, I've been working in this industry or this company for 17 years, and I'm stuck. I realize that I don't think I ever wanted to be here. And I don't want to go back to school. I don't want to start from scratch. I don't want to do any of those things. What do I do? I want to elevate. I want to do better, but I'm not sure I want this, So very often I get that. The other thing I hear very often is they do want that industry. They do want that company, right? But they're saying, I'm stuck. So they're stuck in that case means I have been in this level of income. I've been in this role. I've been in this for blank number of years, and I want to elevate. How do I do that? Nobody sees me. I am not respected. I don't have positional authority in this company. All right, and I've just been stuck at a plateau in this level. So I hear a lot of that as well. On the business side, you can see the parallels. Okay, on the business side.
Before we go into business, real quick, what might be a couple of tips that you would give to somebody who feels like they don't have power, or they're not being seen or recognized, and they're trying to maybe stand out?
Right. So one thing is important is to understand the framework for developing one's power, right? If you recognize the distinction around power is that it is the ability to influence change. And change could be behavior change in yourself. It is behavior change in the teams that you're working in. Because if you're working for a company, you're on a team. Mm-hmm. Right? You're on a team. And just because you don't have just because you don't have positional authority, which is your job title, doesn't mean that you're not in leadership. And that's the thing that most people get wrong. Right? So when they understand these distinctions around that and the process and the framework I give them on how to build power, then they're unstoppable.
Yeah, that's good. I would imagine a big part of that is just helping them upgrade their beliefs and how they're viewing the situation.
It's not just about, okay, of course, you have to intervene at the belief level. And that's the first thing. You got to intervene there. And then you create that cycle of success that we talk about, right? So of course that has to begin there. But once you have that foundation, then you have to implement principles into strategies and tactics as well. So there's a process that you go through, and it's a framework that is proven every single time. It doesn't matter. You can apply it to your relationships at home. You can apply it to relationships at work. You can apply it to the relationships to yourself.
Are there a example of one of those principles that you could share?
Sure. One of them is that if you look at power, right? And I'll give you an example of power is like electricity. Right. There's different types of power. There's electric power. You can have military power. You can have political power. I can have power over you if I'm on stage and I'm speaking from you and I'm motivating. That's motivational power. So there's so many different types of power, right, that you can illustrate. Right. But if power is uncontrolled, for example, lightning is uncontrolled power. It's very destructive. So anytime power is not controlled, it is very destructive. So then it is not just about increasing power. You must also illustrate control. Right. And so there's a framework for increasing power, and there's a framework also for illustrating control. And when you put the two together, that is where you have experience and you elevate your confidence, because now you are confident in the truth of what you have accomplished. So that is a 30,000 foot view of that principle in action. Right. And this can be applied in any world where you want to increase power, where you want to build confidence. Any world, any path that you want to do that for.
That's wonderful. So then you were about to talk about how you might apply this in business.
Right. So your original question was, what do I hear most people say when they come to me?
Yes.
Right. So I shared with you the employees when they come to me. Those are the two most common common things that I hear. On the business side, when entrepreneurs or business owners, they come to me, what I commonly hear is like something like this. Grace, I've been trying to start a business for 5 years. I had 2 sincere attempts at starting the business and they both failed. I just think I'm doing something wrong. I don't know what it is. I'm doing something wrong. So that's the first one that's common. The second one that's really common is that they come to me and they say, I've been in this revenue plateau for a long time. I'm right now making 250K or 500K, whatever that number is, but their dream is to make their first million. And they're like, I don't know how to do it. I tried this, I tried that. I bought this program, I bought that program. I hired a marketer, and what am I missing? So those are the 2 common things. It's either a revenue ceiling or a false start.
That is good. So, well, you certainly have your, I can tell that you have a lot of expertise and mastery in this, because you are just so beautifully zeroing in on exactly the struggles that people are having. Right? You're getting right to it, which I really like. I mean, you're able to articulate it, and I'm asking you all kinds of questions, and you're able to answer them so beautifully every single time. So you certainly have done your homework. So good for you.
Part of the skill set that's necessary to be able to help people to my highest level is diagnostics. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's ironic that I'm a doctor, so then doctors diagnose. And so that's the thing, is that you got to come in and make the right diagnosis. If I don't make the right diagnosis, then I'm helping them with not the root of the problem. So the consequences of that is either I don't get to the root of the problem, so I'm solving it, it's a band-aid solution and it is not long lasting, mm-hmm. or I'm actually solving the wrong problem and there's no outcome.
Yeah.
Right. So diagnostics is very important.
Yeah, for sure. Wonderful. So, all right. So you've been in this game for a while, and you've helped lots and lots of people. You've accomplished all kinds of amazing, extraordinary things. So what's something that, based on your experience, is like one of your biggest insights so far in the game? What's one of your most important life lessons so far?
Oh, wow. There's so many. There's so many. There's so many that I teach in my trainings as well. I would say that one of the, I'll talk about success and failure then. Okay. Right? So one of my biggest insights is that success and failure are the same thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. They're the exact same thing, because both of them are not permanent. Right. Both of them happen automatically. And neither of them define our identity. Right? So they're exactly the same thing. And here's what I mean by they are automatic, right? Because success and failure both happen automatically, right? Success does not happen on behalf of those who are trying to succeed. So it's not about trying to succeed. So people don't succeed because they try to succeed, in as much that people don't fail because they try to fail. Both of those happen automatically, because 99% of the results that we produce in our life, our career, our business happen because of our subconscious programming. Mm-hmm. Right? The outcomes we produce is based on who we are, right? Our subconscious programming, who we are, what we believe, our perceptions of our environment around us. And the outcomes we produce cannot be more than that, right? Because we make decisions based on who we are. We make decisions on our perceptions. And so the decisions we make are at best reflective of our best thinking, right? You make a different decision, you have a different outcome, but all the decisions we make, everything we have in our life right now and that we don't have right now in our life, is a result of our best thinking. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And those things happen automatically. So that's, I noticed, what I would share.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I hope people really take that to heart, that failure and success are the same thing, because most people would never hear that. Right. I was invited to a sports banquet with about a bunch of retired sports players, NFL, NBA, stuff like that. It was a big fundraiser for an organization called Sports World, where they basically take retired players and they send them out into the community to mentor children. And so it's a great organization. And one of the speakers, I was talking to him afterwards, and he says, in life, it's not about winners and losers. It's winners and learners. And as long as you're winning or learning, you're going to be a success on and off the court. And I thought, that's awesome. Yeah. So Grace, I have to tell you, you have a wonderful way of really understanding how important your subconscious beliefs are, because that's my domain. That's what I've spent the most amount of time, studying and trying to understand, is how the unconscious mind operates and how to literally program yourself, your emotional mind, for success. But you also have a very tactical side of you as well. So it's not just the beliefs. You also are very astute as far as the strategies and the tactics and the science of what works, which is a really beautiful balance. And most people are good at one or the other, and you seem very strong in both, which is different. So I like that. So then, so we understand success and failure. Do you have another principle that might, maybe from more of the practical side of things, more of the tactical side of things, I should say?
Principles on the tactical side, I think that would
Yeah.
be one, is that you make a different decision, you have a different outcome. Because, okay, so the essence of that, now I'm going a little bit higher level now, the essence of that is to know that any problem that you encounter, any problem at all in your business, career, life, any problem at all, is simply an unasked question.
Yes, exactly right.
Right? So that's a principle too.
Yeah. It's the answers are easy. It's asking the right questions. And often you need somebody outside of yourself to ask you a new question for you to go, huh, I never
Correct.
thought of it that way before. And then it opens a whole new chain of potential, right, of opportunities.
Yep.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's
So
certainly good.
that is a tactical principle. You ask for a tactical principle because that's very tactical. Because then the
Hmm.
tactic is you ask better questions,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Often, like if our outcomes is as a result of our best thinking, how do we get better at thinking? We get better at asking better questions.
Boom. That's right. Quality of our life is determined by the quality of our thinking and the questions we ask ourselves. That's
Correct.
exactly right. Yeah, brilliant. So then, all right. So what advice would you have for people that are in the world right now, that are on unemployment, that aren't sure what to do? They maybe don't have their job anymore, or entrepreneurs, well, like both of us, we've both created online programs, but our speaking engagements have all been pushed to the fall or pushed to next year, or canceled, right? My coaching practice, where I was going into the office, that went from booming to, nothing, right, overnight because of shutting down the office. And so people are like, all right, I'm not sure how to show up in the new normal. Do you have any career advice for people who are concerned about that?
Yeah. So I would say that concern, right? That word concern oftentimes leads to anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And
many times.
when we have anxieties, what ends up happening is that we are not creative, we're not innovative in anxiety, because anxiety is really belief in an outcome we don't desire because of a future imagined danger, and that's what anxiety really is. And so we're wasting energy that we could use to solve the problem we already have, and we're wasting it in worrying about something that has not happened in a future imagined danger. So first and foremost is to choose a different belief. Anxiety is the outcome of doubt, right? And doubt is a belief. The opposite of doubt is faith, and faith is also a belief, right? Faith is believing in the outcomes you desire, and doubt is believing the outcomes that you don't desire,
Hmm.
right? So first and foremost is choosing which belief that you want to have. And when you choose the belief of faith, that causes action, right? Because faith also results in a feeling, just like anxiety, just like doubt gives you a feeling of anxiety, faith gives you a feeling, but it's a feeling of anticipation. Right? And anticipation means that you can already see yourself there because you're anticipating. When you see yourself there, you're creating the result in your mind so vividly that your brain cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's imaginary. And that causes you to operate from a bigger potential. That causes you to take bigger actions. And when you take bigger actions, you get better results. And so the first thing is to choose that belief, right? And the second thing is to recognize that the economy, we are in a recession. Right? We are in a recession, but it's no different from what happened before, which is that you never had control over the environment anyway.
Hmm.
Recognizing that, right? It's not that we had even less control. We actually never had control. Right. And so when you see it that way, it's not that we're worse off. We were actually equally as worse or better off because we never had control over anything outside of our bodies anyway. And so what's changed is really the game, the way the game is played. That's the only thing that's changed. And if you look at it in terms of a game board, you have Monopoly, you have Cranium, you have chess. Games have different rules. So all you have to do is figure out the rules of the game. If you don't know the rules of the game, you find someone who does.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
And you ask them, excuse me, how do you play this game? I want to play it too.
Yeah. Oh, that is brilliant. You are dropping some wisdom. That is brilliant. And it's true. You got to understand what the rules are. And that means asking new questions or different questions. Right before that step, you said you got to choose doubt or faith, and it really is a choice because anxiety tries to convince us that it isn't a choice. This is just how it is. This is just how I feel. This is just the reality. No, this is just how you're responding to the situation, or more how you're reacting to the situation. And you can choose faith instead of doubt. And I love how you talked about, and worry is the misuse of imagination. So anticipation is really focusing on what's the desired outcome, and then what can I do to start to move towards it. And even just thinking about the desired outcome is going to start creating more questions, more new ideas, and attract other opportunities that will literally just present themselves to you, because that's the kind of energy that you are circulating through you. And it's very powerful stuff. That is so good. And I really love how you said you didn't have control of it the last time. Our control comes with what we're doing with our thoughts and how we're behaving based on those thoughts, not what's happening out in the world, right? So the world is the same, and yes, some of the environments are different, and yes, people are showing up a little bit different, but you still have the same power, the same potential, the same ability. The world is still magical and amazing if you believe it is. So it's just how you want to, I think how you said it is really just amazing, that it's just, we're playing a different game and you need to know the rules. And if you don't know what the rules are, find somebody that knows. How would they find somebody? Well, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, you just found Dr. Grace Lee. Yeah. So she's going to help you, right? So you just found somebody, right? Correct. But if you were all booked up, how might somebody go about finding someone to ask those questions or figure out what the rules are?
Well, that's the thing. If the person that you invite to be a mentor to you is the person who has the success that you want. Is the person who's producing the fruit in their life or their career and their business that you don't have yet, but you desire it.
So that means you're finding someone who has already accomplished what you want or something similar to what you want.
Correct.
So you wouldn't go to somebody to figure out how to make more money if they're broke.
Yeah. Yeah. So those of you who are listening to this right now, I can't say I'll recommend you someone because I don't know what you want. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right? You have to ask yourself, what do I want? Is it more confidence? Is it I want to fill my pipeline with clients? Is it that I have my pipeline filled, I just don't know how to close my clients, I don't know how to convert them? Is it that I want a promotion and I've been trying to chase a promotion for years and I can't be promoted? Like, what is it that you want? And then you ask yourself, well, who do I know, or who have I seen attention or have my attention to that has those outcomes, or is able to, or maybe they're able to talk about that. They have that knowledge, they have that specialty, then those are your mentors.
Yeah. Excellent. Mm-hmm. So, if you could go back and give that 8-year-old little girl that you once were some advice based on what you've learned so far, what advice would you give her?
At 8?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you said 8, really at that time when I was 8, I would have just wanted to know that I was loved.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would go back and tell myself at 8 that I am loved and I'm worthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at 10?
Same thing. Because that was when my father came in and told me he's not going to take care of me. So it
Yeah.
would have been the conversation from 8 to 10 would be the same. That I think that would have been a game changer for me, is if someone intervened to tell me that I am loved and worthy,
Th-
then I wouldn't have spiraled into hopelessness and suicidal and all of that. I wouldn't have spiraled into that depression.
And I find that that is the case for just about everything. If we just knew that we were loved and we were safe,
Yeah.
and that it wasn't somehow that we're not, or that we're broken, or there's something wrong with us. So much. I mean, in life, there's going to be pain, but so much of the suffering is needless and unnecessary because we don't feel that love or that acceptance. We don't feel encouraged. We don't realize that we can give what we need to ourselves, especially when we're kids. We don't realize that we have that power.
Yeah.
So,
The beautiful thing about asking better questions and making better decisions is that
mhm.
you get to experience better pains. Because pains are inevitable, but you will experience better pains and more meaningful outcomes from those pains. And you get to choose better problems to have in your life. Right. And so if you could work with a coach who can help you to make better decisions, then you will be able to choose better problems in your life to have that will transform you into the person you need to be to have what you want.
That is just awesome. I have an example of that. So where you have better problems. So I helped somebody that who came to me and said that it was impossible for her to lose weight. She was near 300 pounds. It was just impossible. And our jobs are to make the impossible possible, right? And so 10 months later, she was down 145 pounds, and she'd lost half her body weight, and she was loving who she was. She felt worthy of happiness. And it was funny because about a month later, she came in to see me, and she looked too thin. She was
Oh,
exercising way too much, and she was getting too thin. And we were laughing because it was such an entirely different problem. It was a good problem to have. Here's
oh,
someone who almost 300 pounds saying, I can't lose
yeah.
weight. Now we're talking about, I'm too skinny. Right. So, and we were able to course correct that very easily, so that now she is at a perfect weight for her, and she feels happy and healthy and loved, and is living her best life right now. And because she upgraded her problems. And I
That's
think
awesome.
that, yeah, I think that that's an awesome way to look at it, how you actually end up with better problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. So, uh, so is there anything else that you would like to share that I'm just trying to figure out different questions to ask you, because no matter what I ask you, you end up with this wonderful, wonderful answer. So is there anything in particular that you would want people to know that are listening right now, that are still, they're like, okay, well, I get that I need to ask better questions, but I'm still unemployed right now, or maybe I need to find a coach, but I can't afford a coach right now. Right. What what advice or message do you want to share for them?
Well, on the first part around, I'm still stuck in my career and I don't know where to go right now. The key word is right now, right? Right now is not forever, right? So it's knowing that it's yet. I don't have what I want yet, right? And that simple word of yet opens doors to creating more constructive beliefs, right? Writing a better story that will get you what you want, right? Reprogramming your subconscious so that you can create the experience of success that you want. And that's the thing, it's an experience of success. It's not, so right, most people talk about success as in you set a goal and objective, you meet it, and that's success, right? If you define it that way, then you'll always be chasing the horizon, and it's a losing game. You'll never get the horizon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about creating an experience of success. As to address the other side, when you say, well, I want a coach but I can't afford one. And so one of my mentors, he was Robert Kiyosaki, and he was the one that wrote
Mm-hmm.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. So he was a mentor of mine.
Sure.
And one thing that he said very often, and I took this to heart, was that when you find yourself in a situation where you know that you need to make an investment, and that's the thing, the language is that it's an investment. An investment is very different from cost, right? Cost is what is costing you right now if you don't change, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you every year that you don't make $1 million, if you're making $800, 500K, and you're not making a million, then every year that you're not making a million, it's costing you 500K. That's what cost is, right? An investment is an investment. It is the price you pay for success, right? And so if you find that I can't afford a coach, I can't afford, and that's what you're saying, I can't afford, remember, words are very powerful. Words also create your world and they form your world. So a better thing to say instead of I can't afford it, a better thing to say is how can I afford it? And that opens your creative mind for finding solutions, because the best thing to have is not about resources. Resources are finite. It's not about resources. The more valuable thing than resources are resourcefulness. And resourcefulness will always trump having resources, because resourcefulness is tapping into the human resources of innovation, of creativity, of love, of gratitude, appreciation, honor. Those are human resources. And when you are truly resourceful, then resources will show up at your disposal.
It always comes back to your mindset. It always comes back to your attitude. I was coaching somebody yesterday, and I said, how do things turn out for you? And he says, well, I always land on my feet. No matter what happens, I'm always okay. Things tend to work out for me. And I just had to remind him that those are his core beliefs, but he wasn't applying them in his situation. He was thinking that things weren't going to work out. He wasn't sure what was going to happen. And then just asking him the right questions, he started to realize, what, things do work out for me. I am resourceful. I am resilient. I can find my way. And so sometimes when you don't know what's going to unfold, those are the times to enjoy yourself. Those are when it really creates the most satisfaction is in between the highs, right? In between the breakthroughs, in between getting what you want or attaining the goal. It's the journey through it. And if you can feel secure and help yourself feel safe and help yourself know that things are going to turn out, even though you have no idea how, that I think in a big way is what allows it to turn out, because you're allowing yourself, you're saying to the universe, I deserve happiness. I'm receiving it. A lot of times we work really hard, but we have a hard time unconsciously receiving what we want, or we hedge our bets a lot because we're so afraid of being disappointed or being let down that we're just kind of have a safety net all the time instead of really surrendering, and being vulnerable and realizing that actually can be a strength and an asset.
Yeah. So I do believe in having safety nets.
Mm-hmm,
I do believe in that. And there is a process for that as well. And it is important for being highly functional is to have safety nets. It's very important in management as well, and leadership. It's very important to have safety nets.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be careful of what you're building a safety net for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. So that's really good. So one of the things that I want people listening to notice is that when Grace and I are talking, sometimes our definition of things might be a little bit different. And so she's talking about one side of it. I'm talking about a different side of it. That's the kind of person that you want to get your feedback from, not someone who sees things exactly the way that you do, although we have so many similarities and commonalities. But you wanted someone who's going to give you a whole different way of looking at things, because that's how the best kinds of questions are produced. That's why, diversity is such an asset and such a strength. You don't want to just hang around with people who think exactly the way that you do, especially if you're surrounded by other people who are naysayers or critics, right? Or don't believe that everything is possible. So I think that that's really important that people pick that up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you have a safety net, let's talk about this a little bit, because I like to, if something comes up, I like to clarify it so that people are thinking about it. So let's talk about safety nets real quick. Sure. So a safety net, for example, when I'm talking about being vulnerable, it doesn't mean that you are just going to do everything and then hope that it works. You're not just going to roll the dice and bet everything. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that you make sure that you're safe. You don't put all your eggs in one basket, but you are also realizing that I've got to get outside my comfort zone in order to grow, right? So what's your idea of having a safety net?
Right. It means that you are planning to fail. Right? Because the only thing that is impossible is to have a perfect journey. No matter what your journey is in business, it's in career, it's in family, wherever that journey is, or even a vacation, there's no such thing as a perfect journey. Failures will happen. So you are planning to fail, right? And so the safety net is around, what do I have to do? What do I have to put in place to avoid the worst case scenario, right? And then if, say I did die, I tried to avoid it and it happens anyway, what can I do to mitigate the consequences of that? Right. Yeah. And then and let's say I tried to avoid it, and then, you know, I tried my best to mitigate it, but then the worst thing, it was a catastrophe anyway, then what's my backup plan?
Yeah. And it's good to think that out. A lot of times people don't want to do that, you know, but the high achievers that I know, they're like, expect the best, but plan for the worst, so that no matter what happens, you're okay, you're prepared, right? Because again, failure is just feedback. You know, you're getting feedback, all right. Or sometimes things just don't work out no matter what you did. You know, you might have the best plans for today, and then it rains and it messes up your plans. Yeah. And nothing you could have done would have changed that.
Right. So the other safety net is maybe it is a perception that it didn't work out the way you wanted it to today. Mm-hmm. Today you might feel it was a failure, but tomorrow you might not feel that way.
Yeah, we call that the plot twist. Right? The thing that didn't work out, that was so terrible, ends up being the best thing that could have happened for you. Right? And so instead of immediately jumping into an assumption, oh, this is bad, or, oh, this is good, you know, you stay open-minded. How do you know? Right? And you stay resourceful. Yeah. Very good. So, Grace, how can people find out more about your services and the programs and everything that you offer? I know that they can certainly visit your website at masteryinsights.com. Yeah. Is there anything in particular or a place that they should go and follow you?
On my website are all those links to social media. You know, so I have my own podcast as well, a YouTube channel, and I post a lot of different content pieces on LinkedIn, right? And all the links are there. So to follow me on all of those links is on my website at masteryinsights.com. And you can always reach out to me, shoot me a message on LinkedIn, or shoot me a message, you know, comment on my videos. I see them all, right? Or me and my team sees them all. So yeah, I'm very reachable and I'm very searchable.
Yeah, so definitely go to masteryinsights.com and then check out the social media links for Dr. Grace, because as you've heard, and as if you're watching this on YouTube, as you've seen, she has a wealth of knowledge and mastery, right? And so if you're looking to take your game to the next level, whether you are an employee or you are the boss, you know, wherever you're at, if you are looking to take your game to the next level, you know, and to have a real growth experience, then definitely reach out and follow Dr. Grace, and if you need to, hire her. So, all right, Grace, this has been absolutely mesmerizing. I've really enjoyed our time together. Are there any final words of inspiration that you want to leave our listeners and viewers with?
I would say that it doesn't matter what you believe to be true. It doesn't matter what is true, right? It doesn't matter what is true. It only matters what you believe to be true, because with work, that will also become true.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much, Grace. I appreciate you being here. And everybody, thank you. And everybody, thanks so much for being a part of this. Of course, without you, none of this would matter. And so we're really happy that you are here today. You are mesmerizing. Take what you've learned from Grace. She has given you so much to think about. Go make sure you check out masteryinsights.com. Apply the tools that you've learned so that you can go out there and shine and be a sure success. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.